Hello, OT friends, and welcome to the Uncommon OT series. I'm Patricia Modis, and I'm your host, a Filipino-American, native New Yorker, currently based in Los Angeles, bulldog mama, and an uncommon occupational therapist myself for the past 22 years. On this podcast, you will hear me proudly feature the unique careers of occupational therapy practitioners working in non-traditional and role-emerging practice areas, settings where OT is uncommon. I invite you to receive a dose of OT inspiration, to learn, to think outside of the box, and to be energized and motivated to follow in these unconventional paths. Happy listening! Hey, OT friends, and welcome back to the Uncommon OT series, the podcast where we spotlight bold, curious, and creative minds reimagining occupational therapy in ways the world doesn't expect. So today is a special one. We are doing something a little different, a reunion episode. So just a few weeks ago, the four of us were on stage at South by Southwest, one of the world's most influential festivals for tech, film, music, and culture, sharing our experiences, our perspectives, and our passion for role emerging and non-traditional OT practices. And today, we're bringing the band back together to debrief, to reflect, to process what that incredible panel meant to us and where we want to go from here. So I'm thrilled to welcome back our three amazing panelists, Francisco Lasta, Dawn Heiderscheidt, and Esther Bae, all brilliant practitioners, storytellers, and change makers in the OT space. If you missed our South by Southwest panel, don't worry, we will catch you up. We were going to dive deeper today, and we're going to pull back the curtain on what it really felt like to share our message with such a dynamic and diverse audience. So let's jump in. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hey, everyone. Miss you guys.
I know, same.
Yes.
So great to be with the three of you.
I know.
Reunion.
I can't believe it feels so long ago. And yes, I do miss you all and just our interactions, because we had a lot of that, especially in preparation for our panel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we prepared hard for that.
Yeah,
We did.
We
Yeah.
sure did. We sure did. We'll get into some of that. So yeah, maybe we can start by let's start with introductions. Just to kind of get our audience, warmed up. And for those who, again, were not able to listen to the panel, this can be a really great intro.
Should we pretend that we have the same seating arrangement as my panel?
Bring us right back.
And I wish I could move the boxes around now.
I mean, if we go by the same order, then Esther, you're up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey then. Hi, everyone. My name is Esther. I am an occupational therapist and a makeup artist and the founder of a consulting agency that focuses on partnering with brands, retailers, and suppliers to create ways to serve a very underserved market. Just my passion is to bring beauty and personal care into the hands of anyone who wants it. So super excited to be here. Thank you again, Patricia, for reuniting us and having us on.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm thrilled about it.
Yeah, then I guess I'm up, and I'm side piece before Esther. I just want you to know I talked all about you today and this panel in my classes. I talked about adaptive fashion and adaptive makeup. I was like, I learned so much on this panel talking to Esther. So hello, I'm Dawn. I do aging in place. I own a company in Philadelphia area, and we focus on aging in place for those who are older adults and individuals with disabilities. So I kind of try to help bridge that gap between what residential construction is sort of doing and then what clients probably actually need to be successful to age in place. So that's me.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. Again, Patricia, thank you so much for bringing all of us. I'm Francisco. I am an occupational therapist. I lead the inclusive design team of the architecture firm Bowler 2, a part of Gannett Fleming Trans Systems. And by the time you listen to this podcast, we probably have a completely new brand, completely new firm name because we're like in the process of doing that. But I I work with architects. I collaborate with them to make sure that, whatever projects we design, we always look at the inclusivity aspect of it that goes beyond meeting ADA standards. And I also partner with universities. Our firm partners with universities here in Chicago and also um, in the East Coast in Pittsburgh, so that occupational therapy students would have their capstone experience with us in a way that would make them also work with architects and know what OT's role is in the design of our built environment. Glad to be here.
So cool.
Thanks everyone for the intros. Gosh, every time you intro yourselves, I'm always just like blown away. Like, wow, it's so cool what you do, each of you. And I'm equally thrilled to have you on. I know each of you thanked me, but thank you for coming on and sharing. It's so important for us to talk about our work. It's important for us to also amplify our work and to begin to infect, future occupational therapists and even current occupational therapists, right, who are just thinking of maybe pivoting in in another direction. So it's our stories, it's these types of journeys that I believe really put the fuel, under someone's whatever to get them to take the first steps or take, that first step. So thank you very much. Today, we're here to talk about our experience at South by Southwest. Francisco, being that you were the mastermind and, you were the one who brought us together. I thought maybe I'd just have you tell us, what motivated you make to submit the proposal? What made you choose us?
No
Why
pressure
us?
to answer that in
What we're
any way to filter egos, by the way. No pressure.
So I guess it all started with me being given the opportunity to speak at NeoCon, which is an interior design conference, an international interior design conference that happens here in Chicago annually. I think it's every June. Um, and that experience really made me realize how important our input is as occupational therapists in the design space. So when I heard about South by Southwest and I got a word that they're accepting proposals for an opportunity to speak at the event, I crafted a proposal, really thought about it, of trying to find ways that it would resonate with whoever would review it, and then after that, I forgot about it. And then there's a schedule for like, if you get selected, what you need to do, or no, even before that, they wanted to promote the proposal that you submitted. Um, I wasn't so sure how the proposal would be received, so I didn't get to like really promote it because I was just hesitant, like, oh, maybe it's just, it's it's probably like so weird for for people to like think about what is occupation center design. But and so, like months after that, I got a call from Audrey Ullman. She's the one coordinating with South by Southwest speakers. And then, so I got a missed call because I didn't answer. It's like, who's this from Austin? Like, I don't know anybody from Austin, so I'm not going to answer this phone call. And then I listened to the voicemail, and I got an email from Audrey, and she said that they're really interested in, putting our the session there. So I initially just submitted it for like a one short session because again, I don't want people to be like, for some reason, I feel that it might not be received as much, being South by Southwest is such a mainstream kind of event. So when she told me that when they reviewed it, they wanted to expand it so that we will have like a longer time, she mentioned that if I could invite other OTs to be in the panel, that would be great, like OTs from like different perspectives, but also in the design industry, and also a moderator. And of course, I reached out to those people that I have communicated recently. And Patricia, you interviewed me for a podcast like last year. And then Esther, we connected in LinkedIn. And then Dawn, we also connected in LinkedIn and met at AOTA conference. So I reached out, and I just didn't know how how happy I was when, Patricia, Esther, and Dawn responded yes. I was just like, I can't believe that this is happening. Like, this is like the perfect group of people that I want to have for this panel. So that's how the rest is, history at South by Southwest.
Oh, I love that story.
I know. I feel
I'm
like
glad
every
we
time
have
you
it
tell it,
recorded.
I feel like every time you tell it too, we get like a new little piece of it. Like you tell us more about it. So I feel like I learned even more.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I don't know, should we share with our audience uh, Audrey's relationship to occupational therapy? Do you guys remember
Yeah, I
that?
loved that.
Yeah, but do you want to, or who
Yeah,
wants to do
yeah.
that?
Well, she said that her sister-in-law is an occupational therapist. And so she already has that familiarity of what OTs do.
Mhm.
And I think that really, have some kind of um, an influence on like her perception of what our profession can do to the design industry.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful when you have a like a cheerleader inside of an organization that already knows what we do, because obviously we all struggle from an identity crisis just a little
Yeah.
bit. So
A
to have that
little.
person who's already like, yeah, no, you guys are awesome. That's really cool that she kind of recognized it, saw it for what it was, and took your proposal.
Yeah, yeah.
Which
But on
thanks for
that
thinking of
note,
us. I just said thanks for thinking of us. That's all. You go, Esther.
oh yes, thank you so much for thinking of us or like inviting. I mean, I was just blown away by your I don't even know what the right word is. All I can think about is like foresight or just your vision. And
Yeah.
even submitting that proposal and like, yeah, reaching out and inviting us to be on it. Like, feedback that I heard is that our chemistry and our synergy was really great. And I feel like that was really cool to be a part of. So thank you, thank you. But I wanted to say about Audrey, I think we do have a little bit of like we're conditioned to talk about what we do a lot, maybe overcompensate a bit, but in any or in most events that I've been to that are not OT related, somebody that I talk to, like whether it's networking or presenting or whatever it is, they're very familiar with OT. Like they have a loved
Yeah.
one who's received OT or their little one, somebody or like they themselves. So it's like I think we need to remember that whatever is going on marketing wise, whether it's ourselves or like as a collective, it's really working because people are, they're more aware than I feel like when I was in school.
That's great to hear.
That is
Like that is not my perception. And so I'm really happy to hear like that other side of it. So thank you.
Yeah.
very refreshing.
Was there a moment during the conference where you thought like, oh, I can't believe I'm here, because I had that a couple of times.
Every second. That's my answer.
When was your moment, Patricia? Just
Yeah,
curious.
I'm curious.
I mean, honestly, I talked about OT so much the entire time that I was there that I felt like I was just a poster child for, yeah, OT, this is what we do. And, kind of having to explain it in so many different ways, right? Um, and yeah, for me, I just felt like, wow, this is so not like, no, a lot of folks did not know what we did in that space. And um, I felt like I had to like do a stellar job in doing this. And also, you have limited time. You don't have 30 minutes with everybody. So it's literally your elevator pitch and, honing in on what kind of elevator pitch this person needs. And so, yeah, not sort of being in the typical space that I'm used to operating in and really, having this platform to explain or to explain what I do, right? Like as much as that was exhausting, I was really proud of that and felt really good that I probably educated at least 500 people about OT. What do you think? Am I exaggerating? Because you did probably an equal amount of OT speak.
I think for me, my moment was like looking at the list of the incredible speakers at the event, which is a lot like people who are at the top of their game. Like when you see Michelle Obama, one of the speakers, Mark Cuban, and then there's Pedro Pascal, and there's that film festival, there's that music festival, and it's so mainstream that I can't believe that we get to deliver this this message about OT to this group
Yeah.
of people attending this event. And I think that it gave me goosebumps just to look at the names and the images of these high profile people that's also speaking at the same event that we're speakers. Like we're really
Yes.
co-speakers with these people.
Yeah.
I have a question for you all. I'm sorry, Patricia, to take over, but
It's okay.
as I'm listening to you talk, I think I was more shocked leading up to it how many times I had to explain what South by Southwest was to the people in my personal circles. A lot of people were like, "No, never heard of that. What is that?" And I was like, "I'm sorry, what? You've never heard of South by Southwest?" And so I'm curious, did you guys have a similar experience? Like I almost felt like, am I explaining OT? Like,
A
but it wasn't until
little.
like my husband, when I told him, because he's in the tech world, he was like, "I'm sorry, you're on South by Southwest." And then I was like, oh, okay, this is, yeah, like this is big because I was surprised at how many people had never heard of South by Southwest. So curious, did you guys have similar experiences?
Yeah, same. Most of my circle, oh, I guess some of my circle in tech knew what it was, but in the healthcare arena, certainly not. Which reminds me, maybe we should do a little what is South by Southwest just before we go any further. Francisco, if you want to do that. But yeah, that was my experience. And yes, it did have that flavor. Like I'm trying to explain what OT is. And but once we got there, it clicked. Like, oh,
Mhm.
we're supposed to be here. We
Yeah,
belong
like there was a
here. We
place
have
to
a
belong.
stage here. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's true about like healthcare professionals not not being so familiar with what South by Southwest is all about.
Mhm.
But I also think that maybe because they didn't get to have that opportunity to actually like be there and participate, like how like the opportunity that we had. But like on the design side, most of the people that I've talked to about South by Southwest, they were really excited about it. In fact, like our neighbor, he said like, "What? You went to South by Southwest?" When I attended South by Southwest, I would say it was life-changing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. For me, it was definitely two camps, similar experience. Like my husband's in tech and we have friends in tech, so they're super familiar. But then my OT or like non-techie friends, they're like, what exactly is it? Like it seems like it's such a mixed bag, which I feel like is kind of accurate. But on a side note, I was just thinking, Francisco, as you were kind of sharing, wouldn't it be so cool if we could do like an activation of like inclusive experiences instead, like, like have a physical space where people can come in and be like, this is what an inclusive experience feels like. Because I went to an activation for like K Beauty when I was there. And I'm like, oh, it's so cool to be in like the 3D version of like, it's very, very much like sensorial. The experience is very sensorial.
That's awesome.
that's a good idea.
Yeah.
That's a
I
good
think
idea.
that means partnering with some of those designers, right? Or some of those creatives that do that kind of thing. Because I've been in like the immersive experiences is kind of where my head is going. And
Yeah.
sure.
And why not, right? Why
Yeah.
not?
So yeah, I mean, this is just like one of the gazillion idea bubbles that have popped up in my head, ever since the experience. And I wonder if that's the same for you guys too.
It
Oh,
definitely
sure.
has that effect of like sparking ideas. And I
Mhm.
think it's because of the amazing group of people that you meet and coming from different backgrounds. And yeah, it just has that, it triggers that um that vibe of thinking about really cool ideas to work on.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I agree with that. I mean, I've had a few LinkedIn connections that are turning into meetings now, which are just kind of like from people that are industry adjacent to what I currently do. And I'm excited for it because it's people who either attended the panel or just happened. Our audio girl, I'm so sorry if you're listening to this right now. I totally forget your name because I don't have LinkedIn right in front of me and names are hard, but we connected on LinkedIn and I was like, reach out anytime. She does UI UX. And she was like, I learned so much from your panel. I was like, thank you. Also, thanks for making the microphones work because
Yes.
that was a
Yeah.
process.
That was a bit of a stressor, like the first 30 seconds. But no, adapted through that and made it work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like all these connections, were there any unexpected interactions or conversations that kind of stood out to you the most?
Well, one thing that definitely stands, you know, like in my memory is the that evening that I spent at the UK House, which is like an activation, one of their activation centers or activation lounges, where we got to talk about AI and how do we like uh, you know deal with the algorithm. And like to my right is Mira, who works for Google, and then to my left is Miguel, who works for the International Monetary Fund. And we just clicked like in this like round table. We have this really amazing discussion, and we ended up like spending like three nights like, with the South by Southwest because we really vibed, and we really had really great conversations over dinner and over barbecue. And that was really like very memorable for me.
I love that. I was totally living vicariously through, I mean, all of your experiences, but definitely Francisco, all of your highlights, like being interviewed for Indeed. I'm like, this is the
Yes.
perfect person to interview for.
I know,
Who better than an
literally.
therapist?
He was so good at that. I was just like, I need to learn. I just want to watch and observe like your skill set.
No, I was on my way to attend a session at the convention center, right? Because I know that I have to be there early so that I can fall in line and be able to attend the session that I want to attend. And the Indeed team with the big mic, like they were in front and I was about to enter, and then like, hey, we really love your outfit. Can we interview you? I said, yeah, but I'm on my way to the session, but if it's quick, I'm fine with it. So
I
that's
know.
That
That's
was fun.
great.
We'll post a link to that one on the show notes. So just so
Well,
people
and when you originally told us, you were like, I was interviewed by Indeed. And I was like, cool, like that's amazing. And then the video comes out, and I was like, you never told us it was a big mic.
it's a
Even
giant mic.
better. Giant mic, like almost the same size as you.
Yeah, it was a surprise, but I think it's also an opportunity to let people know how important interdisciplinary collaboration is, especially at an event like South by Southwest.
Yes. And I felt really welcome too. So everybody that I sort of mentioned that, I'm an occupational therapist, or I would kind of preface it by saying, oh, in fact, I'm a healthcare professional. I'm an occupational therapist. This is not typically our stage or venue. But then they would be really interested. So, I think that's a wonderful space for collaboration and network. It makes everything there makes networking easier, I think, because that's something that we dread a lot. I think personally I do, but even just being in the escalator with someone, people are ready, to engage. And I found that to be refreshing. I wasn't, dreading having to network. It came naturally and it was, yeah, it felt easier there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll second that, especially coming from like the East Coast. Like we're very like quick. We got to get things done. We don't want to talk. It's sort of like not in a mean way, but it's sort of like, what's your vibe? And that was just not what South by Southwest is. Just like, hey, how are you? Want to do this? Let's chat. What are you here for? Things like that. So I completely agree, which I will say like threw me off a little bit. because peopling is hard for me sometimes anyway. And then to be in such a friendly space, I was like, I'm not sure how to handle this. So I think if I were to do it again, like I'd approach it in a very, very different way. But I just like absolutely adored watching Francisco in his element, and then like Patricia, even you, and just like learning as much as we could and do it again, I guess. You know what I mean?
I mean, you took the words right out of my mouth because when I would interact with folks, I would kind of side listen to your interactions with folks, and a couple of times I was like, yeah, yeah, you tell them, yeah, I was just very proud of how you were, yeah, how you were presenting yourself because as you should, right? Because you're experts in this area, so yeah, super it was all great, like all of that, and so much to take in.
So
Each
much.
other, everyone else.
Yeah, and it was just so big, right? Like everyone agrees. Like we all, even our hotels weren't close, but they were, but
Mine
they
was so
were.
far.
It was everything was so spaced out.
It
Right.
was. So shall we switch gears to the panel and
Yes.
talk about, we were invited to speak there for a 60-minute panel. And would you like to describe the topic,
Yeah, I mean, what
Francisco?
are who would like to go? I don't want to take over.
Go ahead,
For
Don.
anyone.
You can do it.
I mean, I feel like we talked about a lot of different topics, right? We sort of do, I'll walk through the thread of it. I mean, we started with sort of like who we were, what occupations are, what OT is, and then I think we did a great job kind of explaining like how to have OT sort of mixed together with the design world and what that means. And um, I'm probably not doing a very good job of explaining this right now because, again, it feels like it was 3 weeks ago, but it was literally only just like yesterday, basically. It wasn't, but it feels like it. So I think our questions were really wonderful, and we were trying to really make sure that the industry professionals that might be there that were not OTs kind of had an idea of what occupations are and why we should be designing for the occupations we think are happening, but also the occupations that are actually going to be occurring with whatever they're designing. So, anyone else want to add to that? Please do.
No, I think that pretty much covers it. I mean, yeah, we did kind of touch on a lot of different things. And there was something you said, Don, that I loved because I was listening back to it. It's very fresh in my mind. You were talking about how a lot of the time products designed for certain purposes are not used that way at all. And I think the same could go probably for like environments. But yeah, there were, I mean, okay, this is also another tangent, but one of my highlights was our hotel room practice sesh. I was
Yes.
like, oh my gosh, just being in the because we've been practicing over, the months, but being in a physical space where we're like simulating the experience live, I felt like it was such a great, I don't know, and we were comfortable. We didn't have like an audience in front of us, so there was so much. I felt like the conversation was very rich, and I wish I had recorded that because I was like
Yes.
learning so much as we were like sharing.
Yeah.
I felt the
And
same way.
and we have different versions of our panel discussion with our practice. Like there are
Yeah.
even some really great gems during our practice sessions that we wish we could have included in the actual panel session because
So
each
true.
they're different. But I think what I really liked about it is that we all agree that if there's one thing that we want the audience to really understand is understand what occupation is. I think we deliver that, hopefully.
And I think it was key that you made that the anchor, going back to one of the keywords I feel for the experience, like that you identified occupation as something that's very unique to us. Obviously it's in our professional titles, but it is very unique because we look at a task, we look at all the components of a task, the user flow within that task, and I think it's something that's very valuable in all the spaces adjacent to what we do. So I think that was very smart that that was our kind of like our home base to come back to occupation in everything we talked about like throughout the panel.
Yeah, I think I also was like bold to really include the word occupation in the title, even if in my mind not a lot of people would understand this, but we will make them understand this during our panel session. Um, Yeah, so that's why I'm very satisfied.
Agreed.
And
Did we make a joke about it, or was it just something I thought in my head that we were like, we should make a drinking game, and every time we say occupation, take a drink because we were like, everyone would be just like done.
we did talk about it, but we should do it next time.
Just because we hammered it, but I hope not overkill. Again, I have not brought myself to listen to it again yet. But hopefully it was effective and not repetitive.
No, I felt that way, and I was like I was like cringing, but then I turned it on and I'm like, oh my gosh, we sound really like, speaking of bold, that's a word that came to mind. Like, we should be more bold with what we have to say because there is very valuable perspective there. And, I think we should, that's one of my takeaways. I'm like, I mentioned a couple of times when I was speaking that I didn't want to call out, I'm like, why not? Just call them out so that they can get called in and then we can collaborate. I think, yeah.
Yeah.
That will forever be etched in my memory. Call in.
Yes.
You gave me credit for that, but it's something you said, Dawn. You're like,
I did? I thought you said it and I just gave you credit for it.
you gave me credit for it, but I think you said it. I think
Did I?
from you, I was like, girl, thank you.
Take credit if you want. It's a great one.
Yeah.
I love that.
But yeah, so many great moments and, just insights, right? And even just kind of from each other. Um, I was very, very proud of how we described occupational therapy and how we tied it into, yeah, to tied it into to what our audience, our thinking was that our audience would be composed mostly of designers, folks who work in tech, but then there are also some random people there, like someone from HR, right? And another OT, like that was really a fun surprise.
Education and marketing.
There was everyone. Like, I don't think I realized that. Like, I always assumed South by Southwest was a lot more TV, film, creative, yes, tech, but I was thinking like graphic design because that's where I have learned about it. But yeah, there was like almost every profession. I think people from different countries all over the place. Like, I knew that, but that was, again, that was like eye-opening to just see how many people have traveled so far just to come for this one citywide conference. So it's pretty cool.
Yes, and also to select hours, right? Because there's just so many choices and so many options. And in fact, we found that there were some similarities in the offerings, like for certain hours. So, for folks to select our panel and to, sit there and be very engaged, that was also a really great kind of
And
takeaway
actually
for
ask,
me. And
yeah, and actually
Mhm.
ask questions.
Yes.
Yes,
Well, do you remember we were all
yes,
like, I mean, all right, so we're going to count Jens, we're going to count the audio people. So we'll at least have 4 people in the audience. And then like we ended up with a decent amount. I was
yes.
happy.
And of course, like true OTs, we had a backup plan just in case nobody stood up to ask any questions. Like I had my little exercise, pair up everybody.
Yes.
But we didn't have to resort to that, thank goodness. Um, but yeah, so fun. Just like smiling away, thinking about it. Was there anything that anybody said that kind of resonated with you during the panel?
I wish I had re-listened to it right before this. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I do think I loved that from my perspective, like the call out, call in that I gave credit to Esther, which I really am still giving you credit because I'm pretty sure you said it in our practice thing. I really think you did. So I'm gonna take that for you. I do really like that concept. And then Francisco with his explanation of sort of like universal design, ADA, or like ADA being the baseline, universal, inclusive, and then going up through the levels, I think was one, a really good visual for the people who could actually see it and were there, but also the audio part of that. Because again, I think our biggest point, at least from my perspective, was that we wanted people to walk away with that like piece of knowledge that they could take with them and then start to be their own advocate or an advocate for us or, go be the champion within their industry. And I think those two pieces for me were what kind of like stuck out in what my brain
Yeah.
was thinking.
Yeah. I think one of the things that stood out during, after the session when we were interacting with the audience is that like Wow, I never knew what OT can do for design, but after how you explained it, it just makes sense. It makes so much sense to design for these activities for these different occupations.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy to
Francis,
hear that.
you said something, Francisco. I think it was probably one of our practice rounds, and I thought it was so valuable. You said that this is the profession of, this is more focused on our profession, but you said this work or like the work that we're doing and kind of like the way we're looking at OT and occupation is kind of the future where the profession is going. And I think that's so true. And I think that being in a space like South by Southwest where people are wanting to collaborate with professions and people kind of outside their silo or their niche is just like perfect for that. And yeah, I thought that was also like a very, very visionary type statement to make that, this is where the profession is headed. Of course, our foundational things are there's always going to be a place and a need for that. But I think it's true. I think we are kind of progressing in that direction. And so, yeah, that was something that I was kind of thinking about.
Yeah, there's definitely space for us there and opportunities too, right? On so many different levels. We talked about the questions from the audience. Were there any that stood out the most to you or resonated the most or was most memorable?
The OT who was there, and this is kind of like related to what I was just saying about our profession moving in a different direction because she has an OTD, but she works for a company doing activations. And I had an opportunity to chat with her a little bit after the session, and she said that she works for a nonprofit doing kind of like something related to sobriety. So she did activations related to like sober living, which I thought was very cool. And
Super
she
cool.
asked about like making a business case for OTs or this type of collaboration. And so that was a very good question. And I think Dawn that you tackled that one and very, articulately. And I was like, yes, what she said. Um, but yeah, that's always going to be something I think when we collaborate with other disciplines and professions, that's going to be like something we have to answer because, we have all these ideas, but people are thinking money, dollar signs, bottom line. So that was a good question for me.
Yeah, and of course, something for our listeners to kind of think about, right? Like we're always packaging ourselves, and there's, the hesitation to sort of put a price tag on our service is a big piece there too. So there's a few things that we need to tackle in order to be really prepared to engage in those interactions, right? And I think we have to be really smart about it and prep.
Yeah, we have to have either an action or solution that we're bringing. And I think that it's great for us to talk about what OT is and how wonderful and ethereal we can be. But if we don't bring it down to earth and we don't package it, like you're saying, in a way that they can take that little bag away from with them, they can, understand exactly how we fit in, then that's where our disservice is when we talk about OT. Because if they might not have the vision of how it could come together. So it's almost on us to say, so here's what we do in this big grand thing, but then in your business or in your space, here's the solution we'll bring you, or here's how it can fit into your organization or industry or things like that. So yeah, I second that and agree.
Yeah. I
And it's
heard
challenging.
like it's about translating it into
Correct.
something that is practical, pragmatic to whatever they're trying to do in the organization. And like overall, our ultimate purpose is for the well-being of everyone, whether, whether you're in a tech industry, whether you're in a business, um, or in the design industry, like these things, whether it's technology, furniture, cosmetics, like we basically as humans design these things so that we'll have a better experience. And as health professionals, our ultimate goal is interacting with these objects, with these services, with this space will contribute to our well-being.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
It's kind of like in healthcare, we know length of stay we know reimbursement rates, but like, what is that in other industries? And that's like, we have to understand what that is, or we will never break into them. We will never collaborate. So we have to understand what their version of length of stay is. And I don't mean direct translation. I mean, that's what insurance cares about because of the money side of it. So what does that mean in graphic design? What does that mean in architecture? What does that mean in beauty brands? What does that mean in, public spaces or residential or things like that? Yeah.
Mhm. And we talked about, next panel, right? What would we talk about more? What would we delve into a little bit deeper, right? We were very focused on, nailing occupations and occupational therapy because that's the groundwork. Now that you know how that's intertwined with design, now we need to do the sales pitch part, right? Like, and I think, something that just kind of clicked right now is that, in these industries, tech and design, I mean, folks are paid in these industries, right? So I don't know if we should be so worried about being expensive, because that's always like another thing. Oh, OTs are expensive. There's just, this extra cost, but they're expensive too, right? And
Yeah.
again, if we're adding to the picture, in
Yeah.
fact, you know,
As long as what we're
complementing that picture.
doing, yeah, like as long as what we're doing is valuable to the places that we're selling to. And I think so, yes. And then I'm also like, but what we can't do is just go like, you should just pay us this because we're amazing. It has to be, we're worth this because we're going to
Mhm.
do this for you. And again, whatever that industry's carrying is at that moment. Because it could be client experience. It also could be bottom dollar. Like, how are we going to save it? How are we going to make more of it? So yeah, I agree.
Right.
Yeah, and we did touch on that in the panel. On a couple occasions, we kind of maybe this is like we're kind of giving like a little teaser, but we're talking about how it's a good investment. It's a good business investment because we do represent a wide body of not only people with different disabilities, abilities, but the healthcare space. Like this podcast alone. I mean, like, to plug a product on here, that's like a huge thing for marketing. And so it's like, it is an investment. It's just kind of crafting it in a way that is very easily understood in these adjacent industries or these like, other industries. And then Dawn, you had mentioned something about focus groups. I think I talked about it on the panel too, but yeah, companies need to test their products a lot of the time, and they do need a panel, especially if they're trying to make something inclusive or accessible to test. And we definitely have that kind of, advantage as healthcare professionals where we can reach people with a wide range of abilities, disabilities across the lifespan.
Yeah, we have
not that I'm trying to make the case to you all, but the case is there.
You're speaking from the choir.
Yes.
Well, if anything, you're giving more language to the people who are currently listening to this.
Yes.
Because I think there's probably a lot of people who listen to this podcast in particular that are like kind of looking at the alternative routes that OTs go. And I know for myself, like, I don't know about you guys, but I get a lot of questions from people. Can I pick your brain? And I'm like, I'd love for you to pick my brain, but I don't have time. So it's like, some of them are looking and seeking for mentors to help them figure out like, how do I word this? How do I think about this? Because our schooling isn't teaching us that. Maybe it's teaching a little bit, but it's very still focused on the rehab and the insurance reimbursement and that healthcare world, which is a great place to be. And there's nothing wrong with that. Definitely spent 10 years of myself there. But just like, so if anything, you're not preaching to us, you are providing people with additional language that they can take other places. Because like Francisco was saying, and like we've been saying, like this is really the future of OT. And I think this is how we're going to bring our profession back to our roots, which is not always just traditional spaces.
Yeah.
Right.
And not just about, disabilities, but like occupation in general, because we have that understanding. And when you think about it, as technology progresses, especially AI, like occupations will evolve, and we have to be a part of that conversation. Like even what we're doing right now, we're meeting, right? But we're doing this occupation in a completely different way than how meetings were traditionally done before. We're just sitting in our homes but we're still able to do it. We're not, in a round table in a room. And that's why who knows what occupations would probably look so different like decades from now. And I think as OTs, we have to really say something about, okay, how would these occupations still contribute to the well-being of the people engaging in these types of occupations?
Yeah. And how can we bring the profession with us? Because we don't want it to be left behind. Like, I think everyone listening to this, and even us, I'm looking at all of you with your heads nodding, no one else can see it, but like, we all really love what we do. And I think, like, being at South by Southwest to be around other people who are like, tell us how much you love what you do, it was reinvigorating, I think. To be
Yes.
like, yes, I really want to fight for this profession. Not that it's disappearing by any means, shape, or form, but like, it's you never know what the future is going to be because like you were saying occupations might look different, tech's going to bring in different things, and so it's really important for us to like really highlight what we can do well and be into the future, be those first adopters and things like that. Yeah.
I loved how I think in our presentation of our profession to our panel, I think they got it, right? I think they left there and they understood, they understood what we do. And in fact, based on their questions, I was kind of excited to hear more about how they could potentially collaborate with an OT or how do we find an OT, right? So I think that was job well done. Were there any particular, interactions or conversations or maybe even sessions that you attended that really kind of reaffirmed your feeling about, what you're currently doing in OT in the design space?
I think meeting Marcos from like that was pretty cool. So we met a guy at one of the what was it like a happy hour or something that we just went to?
It was a
And
happy hour for health professionals.
that's right. Yeah. And I mean, he
Oh my,
has an amazing app that he's working on. So Marcos, if you're listening to it, hey, hi.
I hope so. I gave him a sticker. He
I
promised he
know.
would listen.
And I mean, I don't know if he connected with you on LinkedIn, but we're
He
definitely
did.
connected. I see all his updates now. And I think it was a really good reminder that there are really amazing people out there making really amazing solutions for pieces of the world and caregiving and life. And to just have that conversation, to be able to have that conversation with him. And he was so open to hearing some feedback of like, have you considered this? What about that? And it was like creating this app for caregivers from other countries to care for their families. And I thought it was just like a genius idea. And then there was a few things that he's talking, and I was like, wait, I have so many opinions on that. And have you considered this? And especially if your loved ones in the Western cultures, this might be a thing you want to think of versus you may have more knowledge in a different, Eastern culture or something like that, and I thought that was pretty awesome. And that's when I was like, yeah, we need to continue these conversations, especially in the tech spaces, the app spaces, and the product design. So that was like my moment personally.
well, I was just gonna say that I had a very different experience. I feel like I got like little slivers of South by Southwest. Just to kind of reiterate that because I was with my family and my little ones, so I got to do a little bit of both, like mom duty and all the South by Southwest things. Actually, the highlight for me was our hotel room. Practice round and registering. That was like, wow, I'm here. I'm like getting a platinum badge. This is like so cool. And you get a tote. Like
Yeah.
that was probably South by for me. But actually, like not to be totally cheesy, but I really, really found it valuable to hear like all of your knowledge, expertise and experience so far. And I wanted to ask, like, I would love to just do like a day in the life of like Francisco, Patricia, Dawn, like just to hear what you guys do. Because we've like prepped, but we didn't really talk about like all the things. So for me, that was valuable, like having those conversations and interactions. And I was more than happy with that. Like I was like, okay.
I definitely second that too. Yeah, we talked a few times about how we're such overachievers sometimes as OTs and we want to just do it all and, feeling disappointed not being able to make certain sessions just because my feet were killing me. But, really also reminding myself that going there was about being with you and talking about OT, and that was the purpose, and everything else was just gravy, and it was a lot of wonderful gravy.
Wonderful, gravy. Yeah.
But the primary purpose was for sure, accomplished. And I couldn't be more proud and also, really be in awe of everything that you all do. So yes, I would also love to be a fly in the wall. So Esther, you can come over anytime you're in LA.
Oh my gosh, yes. We should totally, yeah.
Yeah, we can Zoom, you guys.
Please do.
I have attended like a few really great sessions. But then, of course, like it's all about AI and about storytelling, and they're really great, great sessions. But for me, like what really what what gave me goosebumps is when we met for brunch, and it's my first time meeting the three of you in person. That was really like, I can't believe that we're all here and
Yeah.
we're going to present the next day. That was it. It was a surreal moment for me.
I didn't even think of that because I met Dawn the night before, like we
That's
hung out.
true.
And then Esther and I met at the meetup, here in LA. And Francisco, you and I've been on Zoom a couple of times. So it just didn't feel like a first time for me. So how interesting.
Yeah, it was. I think that was one of the first moments of like, it's happening. And then one of the other ones was like when the microphone went on and they gave me the fancy box and I had the thing on my collar. I was like, oh, I official now. Like, look at us. And everyone had their different microphones because of our different preferences and or tech issues. And I was like, we're like here.
Yes.
We're doing it.
It was, and it was freezing in that room. I remember that. I'll never forget that. It was so cold.
So
And we didn't hesitate to call them out.
The lighting, the echo in here, damn it. Yeah.
The
oh, yeah, I
echo.
know. We really did harp on the sensory side of that, didn't we?
Like if there is if there is a place for a panel of OTs to like work on the accessibility of different, experiences at South by, we're here. Call us.
Yeah, exactly.
We are happy to tell you what you're doing wrong.
Yes.
What we experience. Yeah.
I think that one of the things that really made the panel work is that like we have this chemistry, and like I just feel like we're very comfortable in like interacting with each other, and I think that really helps. That really helps a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like missed you guys. Like I got home, I was like
Yeah.
happy to be home, but I was like, wait, I'm not gonna go to brunch with them tomorrow. I was
I
like,
was like,
oh,
oh
I
my
guess I'm going
God, our group
home.
text, we must keep that going. It's like, I
I know,
haven't
like
heard from them in a while.
I'm sad you guys aren't coming to AOTA because like that would have
Oh,
just been like 4 weeks later, and I only get to see Francisco. Like I'm like, oh,
I was
not
just telling
complete.
you, yeah, I
Sorry,
was
you
like,
care, but
man, they're going. I'm not going. They're going. Not that I have any bandwidth to go. Like, honestly, I'm just pooped. Gonna just ride on this wave for a little bit. But I'm excited for you all to talk about this there.
I will definitely talk about this.
it's gonna
Because
find.
I really want
Listen,
to share. Like this is like such a wonderful experience. It's such a diverse, like the diversity of experience that that we had there was just like overwhelming.
Yeah.
From the past where you get to like see Nicole Kidman, she's in the same theater watching the world's premiere screening of her film, and like after the showing, they go upstage, they get interviewed, and she's like in the same theater, and you only see these people on on the screen.
Yeah.
you
Like
are starstruck.
but yeah, I
Yeah.
was definitely starstruck.
Love it.
Yeah. And just like, random experiences. Like I went to the sort of like what would be the Oscars of the podcasting world, right? That was fun. Podcast of the year, the best crime podcast. I was like, one day.
No, I forgot about that. I don't think we ever got to like debrief in person about like how that
Yes.
went.
That was just like, again, one of those like, I can't believe I'm here moments. Like, what am I doing here with my, OT podcast? Like, yeah, but again, after that initial feeling of like, oh, the feeling that resonates is more like, yeah, I'm supposed to be here. Like, yes, there's space here for me. So I think if there's any takeaways from the whole experience is that it's I boxed myself into this place where I shouldn't. Yeah. There's so many other platforms where we can talk about what we do. I mean, I talk a lot about my podcast. Everyone out there wants to start a podcast. And in fact, they were really impressed that I already have so many episodes. So again, asking me for advice, right? So it's such an exchange of just experiences, I think. And through that, you learn so much and you welcome more of these experiences. So there's absolutely space for us OTs there. So this helped me really think even more outside of the box than I already do.
Yeah. And I have to ask this again, did you see Benson Boone do the flip?
We did
Like
Okay.
7 times.
several flips.
And the guys next to us were just blown away. And the girl in front was like, have they ever seen the Olympics? Because they're just gonna lose their shit.
That is a funny story.
Yeah.
Did you ever make it to your Love is Blind?
No, I tried
Oh,
like 17 different events, and the one that I was the final one, people were lining up 2.5 hours before, and
oh,
I just don't do that. I didn't have it in me. It was like the last day. So no.
for sure.
But
I
Patricia
saw
took a picture.
We did.
Yeah, she took a picture next to
the
the cup.
glass. Yeah.
So I saw that.
Yeah, just like I tried to see Michelle Obama and then I saw the line and I almost fainted because it was also 3 hours. And I said, gosh, Michelle, I love you, but I'm just gonna have to wait until the podcast comes out because yeah, and I did other things. Like I went to the Asian Women's Meetup, which was actually really amazing. Met, a bunch of people there. Everyone there couldn't get into Michelle. We all had that like mutual connection already, aside from all being Asian.
So you ended
But
up
yeah,
exactly where you needed to be.
Yeah. I'm sure she was proud of you. I'm sure Michelle's proud of the choice that you made.
yes. But yeah, just an incredible experience. Do you guys want to share any, if you had to pick one, I know there's many takeaways. You had to pick one takeaway, what would it be?
That's a hard one. My initial reaction, and this is not a complaint, this is more of just like, one, we already knew that there's a lot to do. You're never going to be able to do it all. And I would definitely plan it just a little better if you go, because there was definitely moments where I know that I missed things because I wasn't paying attention because I was like, well, there's so much to do. But then I definitely missed some things that I like, really wish I had gotten to that session, or I really wish I had paid better attention to my time. Um, or got there earlier to be in line or something like that. So my big takeaway was like, I want to do it again and I want to do it slightly different for the attendance part, but I wouldn't change a thing that we did for like the panel or the people that we did it with. I thought that was amazing. So I think that was sort of my takeaway. And I think it was more just like experience and how to do it better.
Yeah. It's the same.
Yeah, or to get more. Mhm.
Get
Yeah.
more. Yeah, because there was more. I wanted more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you can't do, all of these amazing things. Like you can't do everything because there's just too much. And I think you have to really look at your schedule, plan ahead, give space for like falling in line, so that you would really be able to attend those events that you want to be able to attend. And I think on the OT part, I think there's still so much that we could say, and have in this platform, South by Southwest, because that was just the introduction. We just gave them the introduction of the capability of our profession.
Question. Would you all go if you were not presenting or on a panel speaking? Like, would you invest for this
Good question.
expansive change? Yeah.
It's not a cheap ticket. It's a $2,000 ticket, the platinum badge. Ooh, I'd have to save. Number
If
one.
I'm local to Austin, that would make it like a little cheaper because I don't have to pay for the flight and my hotel stay. Because again, it's not, the same price as our AOTA conference. It's like quadruple of that.
Yes. And also the hotel prices and such are, they're not regular prices during that time.
Right.
They
Yeah.
for sure inflate prices.
Mhm.
Um,
But
but yeah, I mean, go ahead.
I could just imagine if the badges are really cheap, I can just imagine like how many people are going to be there. Can you imagine?
Too many.
Like there are
Yeah,
already
it
a
would
lot of
be.
people there with
Yeah.
even with the price of the badge was like 2,500 or something.
Yes.
For the
So I
platinum.
would probably want to do it again to speak just so that I can have the the platinum badge. But uh I might just plan it a little differently. And I'm sure I will also be less nervous and it may require a little bit less planning. I feel like the first couple of days was all about planning for it and practicing, and I couldn't really focus on much of anything else. So I maybe the second experience will be a little different.
I think I would go again, and I consider this sort of like how I consider the National Home Builders Association in Vegas, which is also like not cheap, kind of expensive, hotels, all that kind of stuff. I think like if I were to do it, it'd be like an every 5 years kind of thing. Like, okay, I'm not doing it next year, but I would definitely do it again if I weren't a speaker, but it could not be a regular thing. But I'm totally open to try and be a speaker each year if they wanted to.
Right? Particularly because it's so close to the AOTA conference. So I know we're already talking about next year and, that being in Los Angeles. So, you know, could we be in Austin 3 weeks before?
Yes. I'm coming alone. I'm like, sorry, y'all, I gotta go.
You're like, I'm definitely going again and without kids.
100%.
Yeah, it was just fun. Like from the start of the day all the way to like the evening time where you get to hang out in these really cool activation lounges with some really interesting people to talk to. I I think that is worth it. In addition to like the really the what the new trend is going to be, like what the future is going to look like, because those are the things that they discuss, like a lot of sessions focused on that. I think that it's for me it definitely was worth it. And Austin was filled with like really famous people during that time. Unbelievable.
I know. And
Really?
like listening to you, I'm like, you know what I did wrong? I didn't take a nap in the afternoon. That's
Oh,
what I should have done, because then the evening things I would have gotten more, I would have had more energy. Yep, that's what I did wrong. So anyone listening, take a nap.
It's
Francisco,
a
you did that
long
like almost
day.
every day. Then
I
you just
did that
went
every
to
day.
bed. That's where I messed up.
I mean, on the fifth day, I was like, oh, I don't know if I can go any further. I mean, really, it was just a lot of um, stimulus. And yeah, really, after a while, I was just like, okay, I need to just slow down. And certainly the last day was a lot slower. Um, but again, just so invigorating and inspiring. Did everyone get to talk about their takeaways?
I don't know if I gave an answer, and I will.
You didn't go for it.
Okay. Well, my experience was a little different. It was a little bit more limited and simplified, is how I like to look at it, because I went for one purpose and I stuck to that purpose, and that way it was like, so amazing. And I think kind of related to that, like intention. Yeah, my takeaway would be to just be more bold in, our profession, in my role, and what we have to say, what we have to offer. And like unapologetic. Like I think I was really worried about offending brands or calling products out, but it's not. It's constructive, hopefully, and it's like opening the door for more conversation. So personal takeaway would be to be be a little bit more bold. And then if there are OTs who are thinking about doing something like this, I would say just totally go for it. if you're interested in it, it means there's a place for you. Go and, buddy up with colleagues that kind of are doing similar work and enjoy, like have a blast.
Yeah. And if you have an idea that you think that you can submit to South by Southwest, like just submit it. Like if it gets accepted, great. If not, try again.
And I do have a question for you. Maybe this, Esther, is your thought of like any OTs that might want to do this in the future. Do you all think it would have been as fun if you had gone alone? Or do you think like having a buddy was kind of the way to do it?
Oh my God. I needed you guys. I don't think I could have. Yeah,
Same,
it was so
same.
comforting having you there. And yeah, it's so hard to be the only OT all the time. And that's a massive space. So it was so comforting to have you all there, kind of really understanding what I was talking about, backing me up about what I was talking about. And yes.
Yeah,
And
we
just for the
we felt
social.
so supported
Yes.
because we have each other.
Yeah, it was nice. I don't think I could go to that conference alone. Like that.
So there was another OT there who was there on, I'm curious. I actually have connected with him.
Is that
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Corey?
Corey, yes.
Yeah,
There's
yeah, I was
another
sad
OT
that I
there.
couldn't meet him.
Oh, what were they doing there? Or
I don't know exactly because we just sort of messaged briefly, but I'll follow up on that because we
very
connected on
cool.
He does
LinkedIn.
some branding and like web stuff. So he's an OT, but I don't know that he's actively doing it. And sorry if I'm spreading rumors right now, but I think he does like more branding, marketing, helps other OTs kind of brand and market themselves. So little plug, I guess.
Okay, I think I know who you're talking about. I saw some of the activity on LinkedIn.
Yes, much activity on LinkedIn lately.
Well, I want to give a nod to LinkedIn because if it were not for LinkedIn, I would have never connected with you all. And I'm very like social media, like, I don't want to say aversive, but like, I'm more like a creeper. I'm not really engaging. But yeah, it's been such a helpful tool. And
Second that.
yeah,
This is how we all connect.
Ditto.
Literally.
Yes,
Hey, it's how we
that's
all
how
connect.
I was creeping around and found Francisco. And yeah.
I also did that and stalked him.
Which I'm glad you did. Otherwise, this wouldn't have happened, right? I wouldn't have anybody to pull, help me here. And that's why I'm really really genuinely grateful that you all said yes and you're very passionate about it. And I think it showed. It showed. So thank you.
100%.
Mhm.
Just, we talked about the chemistry a couple of times already. Yeah, it's natural. It's not like years and years of, bonding we've had. But we just clicked, and this is just our natural way of interacting. So I absolutely love that. Again, I mentioned on my social media posts that I've gained 3 OT besties in this process and, really having the most amazing, unforgettable experience. So thank you, Francisco, for the invitation. And thank you, Dawn and Esther, for doing what you do and for being so open to sharing, our collective experience over there on the podcast today.
And I just want to say, like, after the event, I had some buzz, like, after, yeah, like an after effect. Like, even when I'm already back, I was already back here in Chicago. Like, I still have that kind of like feeling of like, wow, that event was really great. I'm not sure if it's the same with you, but that's definitely how I felt.
Yes, and in fact, there's this like urgency. Like I feel like, oh my gosh, I need to like connect with the folks, the cards that I exchanged. Like I need to, the sooner the better, right? To continue those conversations while I'm motivated, while it's all still fresh in my mind. So there is that spark that ignited in me too.
I almost wish I had taken time off when I got back to process it, and I didn't, and I should have. So, yes, it's there, and I agree with you.
I'm still processing too. So I'm with you. Yeah. But it was only like 15 days, not like a
Ago.
month. So 15
Thanks
days
for
ago.
the reminder. I
Yeah.
forgot.
feels like a long time ago because it feels like it was somewhere like foreign and yeah, but it was pretty recent.
Yeah.
Why is
This
that?
month. Yeah.
Yeah. It was so amplified. I think that experience was so amplified for the four of us.
Mhm.
Well, and
I remember one funny, I'm sorry, there's
Oh,
one
go, go, go.
funny thing that happened that I just crossed my mind all of a sudden. But remember, daylight savings time happened during that weekend.
I was so confused. Really?
It was
Why
like,
are
how was I out till 4 a.m. or whatever time it was? We were like, time space continuum hit.
Yeah, and it was hilarious, and everyone was confused, and
I'm actually impressed that we all made it to brunch at the same time because it was all over the place. It was like 9:30 or 11. We didn't know. Yeah.
Like all
time
of our
zone.
calendars had readjusted to different times and never the same.
Yes, even today, even today, some of us were late.
Sorry.
Sorry, y'all.
So fun.
Well, we made it work despite our distance. I'm just happy, and I'm just thankful. Like I'm running out of words, but I'm just really happy, and I'm glad that we get to like process this in this session because I think other OTs would also be curious like how we pulled it off.
Yeah. And I think like the simple answer is you just did it. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's what we get in our ways all the time because we're like, well, I don't know how. And it's like, you don't need to know how, just do it. Like, if there's a barrier, go around it, go under it, go over it, break through it. Like, just do it, I guess.
Well, that
Yeah.
was my partner's feedback was that, we were experts and you're all up there talking about what you do, right? You know what you do, you're passionate about what you do, and that's what we did.
Mhm. And I want to go back to kind of like, I don't know what it was, but the spirit of collaboration. I feel like that was kind of like it was stated, I think from the get-go. I think Francisco, it was you're like, when somebody gets nervous, like jump in and help. And even through all the practice rounds, I think just knowing that we had each other's backs, like, and I felt it, when we were up there speaking, like I know if I'm like stumbling through something, someone's going to say something, kind of like break the ice a little bit. So just knowing that, I think kind of made this dynamic so like organic and comfortable because we're all kind of just trying to help each other out. It
Genuinely
translated.
kind people, all of you, like kind, nice, all of it, and genuinely like good people.
That I feel like it says a lot about our profession. So yay OT. Like, we
Yeah, I really do.
sometimes
I wish we were going to we would join you at the conference. That would be really, really fun. But for sure, next year in LA.
Yes.
And just
Yeah.
careful because it's my city, but I can guarantee Francisco's going to have some crazy story of how he ended up in some amazing nightclub somewhere. So I'm just going to
Some
see what happens.
speakeasy.
that's yourself. I say yes, Fred.
It'll be a little different experience for him.
We want live updates.
I'm
Yes.
going to be more like, can you text me if you're going somewhere weird? Because I'm going to tell you if you should not go to that neighborhood because there are some you should not go to.
Yeah.
Share your location with us so
Yeah,
we can
please check in with me.
Please do. Keep the chat alive.
I want to make sure you get home.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Not that Philly's unsafe, everyone listening. It is. Just, also text me.
Only certain parts.
Thanks for the heads up.
There are a few parts you do not want to go to.
So thanks again, everybody. I could talk with you all endlessly and just, there's lots of laughing and just sharing and again, the easiness of everything. And I'm so looking forward to our future collabs. I know we're going to be in each other's lives from now on. And I look forward to, the next chapters.
Yeah, and collaborating with more OTs because that's how we get stronger, right? Like if we have each other and really lift, the value that we have.
Yeah.
So, yeah, exciting times.
Thank you all so much.
And that wraps up another inspiring episode of the Uncommon OT series. Connect with me at www.transitionsot.com. And don't forget to sign up to be part of the Transitions OT community. By doing so, you'll receive my latest compiled list of uncommon OT practice settings, the latest news on mentoring offerings, uncommon OT live events, non-traditional OT resources, and more. You may also follow me on my social media pages on Instagram and LinkedIn. And if you love this episode, head on over to Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, and Google Podcasts to follow, rate, and leave a review. I also ask you to consider pledging your support to my Passion Podcast project by being a patron on Patreon. It is very much appreciated. Sending big OT love. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.